Frequency 1138 is all clear and clanker free. This is Clone Army Radio.
What is up, Clone Army? We are back with another Mandalorian Aftershow. Man, season finale. It's weird because there's a little sad part this week in the Star Wars world. So my bad. As per usual, I'm joined by Quattros.
Quattros in the house.
Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it right.
And I am Arc Trooper 5s reporting for Dute. So yeah, like I was saying, season finale. What a show. It's sad to see that over till next year. And on that note, we lost another Star Wars legend, Jeremy Bulloch, the original Boba Fett.
Yeah, it's pretty sad because like here we are riding this wave of like amazing Star Wars. And another week goes by, and then another legend, like you said, passes away, and it's kind of sheds a little dark cloud over what should be like joyous occasions. And but that's life, and we move forward, and we honor his memory. And I'm sure he's wherever he's at, he's happy to know that Boba Fett is finally getting his due, and and other things, and rest in peace, and we'll miss you.
Absolutely, well said. It's sad, to see David Prowse and now Jeremy Bulloch. Hopefully, in some way, like you were saying, they can look down and see that their legendary work, at least in Star Wars, lives on,
right?
And they will certainly be missed.
As the other ones, Princess Leia and Carrie Fisher and Peter Mayhew and the whole group is starting to, get older and kind of take that big journey to the other galaxies, I guess.
Right. So also, just a message that Quattros and I will not be recording next Friday. Next Friday is, Christmas Day, and, we both are, participants in celebrating Christmas, so we are going to use that Friday as time to be with our families and whatnot. But we will be back, and we will be ready to talk a lot more Star Wars after that, so stay tuned, sit tight, and be ready.
Yeah, I mean, we've been going pretty strong here, and I think everyone can use like just a little breather. I'm sure when we come back, there'll be some more news. Seems like Disney keeps announcing things, and everything just keeps evolving. So,
most definitely. Okay. 2 other notes before we jump into this episode. Something I forgot last week. I remember mentioning it when the Slave One dropped the seismic charge. And I'm like, oh man, I know it has a name. And I'm like, we get done recording, and I pretty much just kind of hit myself in the forehead because I'm like, seismic charge, man. What am I doing? It's been my email notification for like 2 years on my phone, and I just know everybody else was all like, every other podcast I listen to, everyone's all like hyped up for it. And I'm like, man, I really dropped the ball on that one. I should have remembered the name, but, I eventually remembered it. It was just, 10 minutes late.
It's all good. Like you said, we're not experts. We're just trying to do the best we can with what we got, with what memory we got left.
Right. And also on that note, really quick, Quattros, I happen to notice that I think you and I, at least out of the shows that I listen to, were like the only ones that were kind of critical on the Believer episode. Seems like everybody else that I listened to was giving it A pluses and loving it, and I think that's cool. I think it's cool that we kind of brought something different about it. But also on that note, two things I don't think I mentioned about that episode was Bill Burr was amazing. His acting was really top notch, I think, and so was Pedro Pascal with his helmet off. That was some of the best acting I think I've seen in a long time.
Right, the way he still kind of acted like he had the helmet on while he was. That we kind of touched on it, that he was kind of like acting weird in that whole other suit and everything, and had different body language. But yeah, we didn't really mention the fact that when he took his helmet off, that he was still pretending, he still was moving as if he had his helmet on, and was making all those subtle movements, and that kind of went over our heads. But we're making mention of it now, so we're trying to get back on track.
Definitely. All right. Season finale, chapter 16, episode 8, The Rescue, directed by Peyton Reed. I believe that's his second episode directing this season. And written by Jon Favreau, the mastermind. So it's going to be a tough one, man, calling you.
Oh, no, it's fine. You can switch between them or whatever. It was just...
I got to say that work last night was rough for me. I could not stop thinking about this episode. I'm like, what's going to happen? And there were so many different directions they could take. And
yeah.
Like, I was honestly like getting anxious. And the closer to like the end of my work night I was like anxious, but then I was like, oh man, I don't know if I want to watch this. I'm like my head was setting me up for disappointment or just high expectations or whatever. And then, I got home and I'm like, usually, I get home and I grab a snack or something. I just poured myself a cup of coffee and came down to the cave and turned it on. I'm like, I got to watch it. I'll figure out a snack later. I need to, and then I was on the edge of my seat the entire episode. I don't know if it was like this for you, but there was a lot of suspense throughout this entire episode for me.
Yeah, for me, I thought that it kind of went by like as planned, really. They teased who was going to come back, and they called it the rescues. I mean, you knew it was going to be a rescue, but so they kind of teased everything in the beginning. So they kind of gave a little bit away. And as the show was kind of going on, as the show was moving forward, it kind of seemed like, things were going according to plan. And then, it got to a point where it's like, okay, what do we do now? And then classic Star Wars, someone comes to the rescue. So as far as story structure, I mean, it was pretty standard, I guess you could say, storytelling. But like the events, the characters or whatnot that were in it are probably like historic events. It's probably like a historic event. So it's like kind of like off, kind of sets it
like higher.
Yeah, it kind of sets it higher, balances it out or whatnot. So
okay, so I guess we'll hit letter grades. What's your letter grade for this one?
You go first.
Oh, you want me to go first? Remember that scene in A Christmas Story where the lady's writing on the board A plus plus plus? That's me, dude. This episode was A friggin' plus.
A plus all over the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people are saying, that it's an A plus episode and everything, and then they're really emotional and everything, and yeah, and I don't know. I feel like maybe because like I was so out there with who had thought it could be the Jedi, that when I found out what Jedi was actually coming back, I was maybe like you said, my expectations were a little high for like something completely out of the box. That to be completely in the box was like a little not disappointing, but in that realm of like, okay, like this makes tons of sense.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm struggling to give it a letter grade because I want to, because I want it to be like, this is the moment I've been waiting for, but it's like, it's not the moment I expected. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm going to wait till the end of the episode.
Okay.
To give it a letter grade because I'm still processing, I think, everything, and maybe hearing your thoughts and, knowing that you love it, that's good. But I don't know. I think I'm going to wait.
Well, see that right there? You're giving listeners a reason to continue listening to the whole episode because they're going to want to wait till the end now to hear what your letter grade is.
Oh, geez.
So keep listening, guys. I know I know a lot of you want to turn it off already, but stick around. Yeah, I guess the obvious thing here is we're spoiling everything Star Wars. We're not holding back. The only things that are going to be held back is anything I think would spoil something for Quattros that he hasn't seen yet. So, I mean, if you're all listening and if you haven't seen this episode of The Mandalorian, go check it out and then come back and listen to us. But basically we're spoiling everything. Sequel, prequel, original, Rebels, Clone Wars, expanded universe. What was that, Quattros?
Stay off the internet and don't look at YouTubes or, because don't look at your news feeds because everything's being spoiled all over the place.
On that note too, I actually had a notification. I turned off my Google notifications on my phone.
Oh, nice.
And when I was done watching the episode, I texted you to ask you if you had watched it yet. And there was a notification from Google about the episode. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's what, 6:30 in the morning? Like,
oh wow.
I'm just like, maybe they need to chill out and let people, watch it. As one of our friends had something spoiled for him. Just doing his daily, get online situation, and he already had something spoiled for him before he watched it. This is the kind of episode, yet like you were saying, Quattros, there were some things that you kind of saw they were going to happen, but you still don't want it spoiled. You want to witness it firsthand. You don't want to read about it on the internet or something. Hopefully not too many people were spoiled because, I'll be honest, that sucks.
Yeah, that's a bad way to go about this episode, is to like know what's going to happen.
Right.
You definitely want to keep that anticipation all the way up to the end, and then you see, what happens and who comes to the rescue, and it's like mind blown. So
right, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to, and like what I was saying too, where I was at the edge of my seat this whole episode almost. If it was spoiled for me, I'd just be sitting back going, "Oh, okay, this is when this is going to happen." Like it would still be a good episode, I think, but yeah, I don't know. That's the one thing I cannot stand about the internet is people love to spoil things. Like certain news groups, they got to, I think you have mentioned this, Quattros, before, that they got to be the first ones to get it out, so they're doing it right away in the morning, and it's like, come on, man, hold back, at least give people one day.
Yeah. No, you've got like 1 hour.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah, barely 1 hour to watch the episode, because I got done about 7 a.m. Eastern time, and I already had like a news story that was like 2 hours old,
Right.
Explaining everything.
And that was, close to when it was available to watch. I think Eastern time is like 3 a.m. So at 4 a.m., people already have their stories out there. So anyways, yeah, just we're spoiling stuff. I just don't want anyone to be mad at us if we spoil something that you haven't seen. Obviously, with this episode, you're listening to us, so you've seen it. But anything else, I don't want you to be mad. So, I'm going to start with the beginning of this episode. We get to see an Imperial shuttle, which I was all excited about. I have one on a shelf right to my right.
Yeah, those are always cool to see, man. I always
right?
like that shuttle. Yeah,
it's so cool. The shuttle Tidarium from Return of the Jedi. That's the when they're trying to get to the moon of Endor. You know, keep your distance, but don't look like you're keeping your distance.
Right.
So then, you know, you see Slave One coming after it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, man.
Instant.
It's so Slave One. I'm just constantly excited about seeing this ship. And I mean, it's probably already got more airtime than the prequels and the original.
Well, probably. I mean, you go inside, you get to see how it works. You know, you go to the cockpit a lot. You see it use all its weapons. You know,
right?
It's so good.
So they ion blast the Imperial shuttle. Oh, and Dr. Pershing's on there,
right?
Which he didn't really have a very big role, you know. Here he was just kind of. I mean, obviously they were taking him to Moff Gideon, but we didn't really see much of him.
He was like the guy from like the Mission Impossible movies that gives Hunt his like, you know, information.
Right. Yeah. Definitely spot on.
This message will self-destruct.
So they get on that shuttle, and I absolutely am starting to just love every time Din is on screen. You hear that like Clint Eastwood whistly theme. Yeah. It's so like it takes me right to, you know, watching Clint Eastwood westerns with my dad when I was a kid. You know, I'm like, this is so cool.
but like a little bit of like, you know, samurai type sound too, you know. It's got like the combo. It hits both genres, like, which are almost like this, you know, the same thing. A western and a samurai movie are kind of like same thing. You got BA characters that are like, you know, out for justice or, you know, revenge or whatnot. So or to track down their friends or so.
You know, I remember, I think it was in the gallery. I still haven't finished watching the first season of that, but I think it was in there at one point that Jon Favreau said, he's like, and I may have mentioned this before in another recording, that they didn't want to draw influence from the things that George made. They wanted to draw from the things that influenced him.
Right.
And dude, they're doing it. They're doing it.
They're doing it. They're absolutely doing it. They're not, you know, being shy about it. Like they're using what Star Wars was based on, you know, westerns, samurai movies, Flash Gordon, John Carter, you know, was it?
Yeah.
Dune, you know.
Oh yeah, totally Dune. I always forget about that one. I think that's why this show works so well, is because that's what they've done. They are pulling from George's influences.
Oh, and that book, the Hero's Journey, that one too. So.
Oh yeah, Joseph Campbell,
right? So there you go. That's everything, you know, based on rooted. You know, all that stuff came together in Star Wars, and that's like so smart because, I mean, how much. You know, you gotta like, you want to do a show, you know, based on Star Wars. You don't just like create your own, you know, your own way of doing it. Like I don't know, the sequels. you go to the well and you keep on pumping out more water from it. I don't know, man. They're geniuses, but like they're geniuses in the fact that like they just are using what worked before or you know, the formula. So, I don't know. It's pretty awesome.
It's very awesome. So Din shows up on the shuttle, and you get this back and forth between the pilot, who the pilot looked a little too young to have been around for Alderaan, but whatever.
Yeah, totally. Good point.
But you know, I liked the back and forth. I knew where it was leading. That guy was getting shot. You know, there was no doubt in my mind.
It's just a matter of time. He just kept flapping his lips about Alderaan and trying to push buttons, and you know, finally a button got pushed and his face got blown to smithereens. So
yeah, And then they're off to. I don't think they said the name of the planet where Bo-Katan and Koska Reeves were.
Yeah, that threw me. That was a whole different planet, right?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. How cool was it? I don't know if you're super familiar with the Mandalorian starfighters, but you got Slave One, the Mandalorian starfighter, and the Imperial shuttle all parked by this cantina, and I'm just like,
Right.
man, that is such a cool visual.
You know what that kind of like seemed like is like when you go to like a car show, and you see like a Corvette or a Mustang and like a Camaro all kind of like sitting there
Right.
with their hoods open and everything. So,
Dude, totally. That was yeah.
a little bit of George in his hot rodness.
Oh yeah, absolutely. See another nod to George there.
Another nod.
I thought like I don't know, Bo-Katan and Koska Reeves seemed a little different.
They did.
They seemed really like
I'm
ticked
glad
off.
you said that. Yeah, they seemed like they were upset. And
Yeah.
Where was the other guy?
Woves? Something Woves. Yeah, I don't know. And honestly, here's the part that something got spoiled for me a few weeks ago, and apparently it was wrong because I had heard, I think on another podcast, they said that Sasha Banks said she wasn't going to be in another episode this season.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that sucks. Why you got to spoil stuff for me? But then here she is. I'm like, oh, okay, she's here. But that guy wasn't. So maybe they got their streams crossed a little bit in their info.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know where he was. That was kind of, I guess, weird. But the only thing I could think of is when they saw Boba Fett, that set them off. Maybe that they were mad because he's not a Mandalorian, I guess.
Yeah. It seemed like they were not having Boba Fett at all. Like they were kind of like really kind of dismissive of him and saying he's not one of them. So pretty much why he's got the armor. Which thinking back or watching all these Clone Wars and everything and knowing a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of Mandalorian culture is like they seem to like love infighting. Like that's what.
Oh yeah.
They're all about like thinking they're the best sect or something of their kind. So I think this just might be a little bit of that happening here.
Right. Yeah, it was weird, and like it was almost like Bo-Katan was trying to insult him. You're a clone. I've heard your voice thousands of times, or whatever, and like I don't know. It didn't really bother me. I was just kind of like, I think maybe that part I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna see Boba, Din, and these two like 4 jetpack BA people working together. And then they kind of had this attitude, and it almost seemed like Bo-Katan was being kind of attitudey towards Din. Not all Mandalorians are bounty hunters or whatever. Like when they left before, it seemed like it was respectful, good terms, and
high-fiving each other. Job well done.
Right.
Can't wait to see you guys again. Yeah, and it was a twist. It was definitely like a different vibe you got going on. Like they weren't happy to see him or anything. They were just like, "Oh God, here he comes!" And
yeah,
don't look at him. And who's this guy?
and again, yeah, I think maybe I think a lot of that was projected towards Boba Fett, and Boba Fett being with him. I think is maybe that's what we were supposed to believe.
Here's a moment. I mean, where else in the galaxy are 4 basic Mandalorians going to be like hanging out? I mean,
right.
Well, she says she's got a battalion, but we didn't see it. But like, I don't know. This should be like a moment where everyone's like happy to be around each other. But it's like, yeah, like you're saying, it's some tension there. And so,
which, I'm sorry, it just popped in my head.
Go for it.
It's very Mandalorian-ish, like you were saying, the infighting thing. And I forget how Boba said it, word for word, but he was, mine might be the last one you hear about the clone voice. And that's when Koska Reeves punches him, and they go into this cool little fight, man.
It was a good fight.
I loved how she when she put him in like a headlock and then used her jetpack to like spin around, and I'm like, oh man, this was cool.
that was a cool moment. Yeah.
And Bo-Katan stops him, and I like what she says. She's like, if we had shown half that spine to the Empire, we would have never lost our planet.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah. So, she was willing to work with him, mostly because she found out that he knew where Moff Gideon was. But I don't know, knowing Bo-Katan's character from the Clone Wars and stuff, I don't think she would have been like, no, you're working with Boba, get away from me. I think she was still going to help him out, but finding out that she could possibly get that Darksaber back helped.
Right. She wanted to know where Moff Gideon was, and she wanted Moff Gideon. So, she wasn't finding any leads, sitting there, eating her soup or whatever. So here comes Mando with some meat on the bone, and she wants to take a bite because she's obviously coming up blanks, with using her methods, Anyway, she's like, you'll never find him. Little does she know that Mando's got that all taken care of.
Right.
Thanks to Bill Burr.
Mayfeld. I think we're going to end up seeing Mayfeld again. I'm not necessarily in The Mandalorian, but I think we'll see him in another Star Wars situation.
Would that get Cara Dune in trouble?
For letting him go?
Yeah.
I mean, if he shows his face around and people realize that he didn't die on, what was the name of that planet? Something with an M.
Morak, was it?
Yeah, Morak sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she could if it's ever found out that she let him go. I guess we'll have to wait and see. There's so much Star Wars content coming out. I'm sure they'll touch on it if they want to. So I like that even though they weren't really digging Boba Fett, they're still. Were they on? I don't know. Were they on Slave One when they were planning things out? I can't remember, to be honest. During like the debrief of how the mission's going to go.
They were in a ship. They were, kind of Bo-Katan kind of takes over, setting up the plan and everything. So, and then they're looking at that schematic of the ship, and what Dr. Pershing kind of chimes in with his 2 cents.
Something I forgot to mention that was one of the coolest shots in this episode for me was after Slave One hit that shuttle with the ion blast, and the pilots and the doctor are talking about what they should do, and then you see Slave One right in front of it rise up.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, that was such a cool shot.
That was a great shot. Yeah, you get to see the whole belly of it and everything.
Yeah.
And the size and everything of it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You did a good job with that. That's how you would be playing with your toys and stuff, and how slow it was and everything. It was like, that'd be funny.
Yep. Dude, so good. I like that Bo-Katan took charge. She was the one basically saying, this is how we're going to get in. This is where we're heading, 2 teams, blah, blah, blah. It was totally Starbuck.
Oh, yeah, totally.
In Battlestar, planning out their attacks on the Cylons. I'm like, I don't know. Katie Sackhoff, she's perfect for these roles.
She's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
I was texting you last night telling you, like, Bo-Katan's got to come back. She can't have that one and done.
Right.
And so it's kind of cool that, take my word for it. I was texting him.
Dude, that was the first thing I thought too, was when they showed the previously on the Mandalorian part, and they showed Bo-Katan like right away, and I'm like, oh, Quattros was right.
I was right about one thing, yeah.
The negotiations were short.
Yeah.
So they do their their little fake battle with each other, and what is it? Gideon says launch the TIE fighters. What did you think of that? Like, you get that little quick first person view of the TIE fighter launching out.
That was great. Those were one of my favorite shots, other than the ending. I like seeing the guy in there kind of like moving around. I don't think I've ever seen the cockpit with the guy kind of like in it, in the glass and everything in a shot like that. It's always like you can never see inside. Like the lighting isn't really like, doesn't work that way. So it was cool to see the guy in there, the pilot. I'm sorry, the guy.
Right.
And it was great to see, him shoot out like a cannon out of the hangar. So
yeah, that was really cool.
And I was like, man, they have like no wiggle room. I mean, they've got like a straight line. If they waver off that line, I mean, they're gonna like jet out and smash into like the side of the ship. They got to be really good, Yeah,
that was really cool. Like, I didn't even think of that part. How tight of a fit that was.
Right, it was tight. It was a tight squeeze.
It was just a very different way of seeing the TIE fighters come out, for sure. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, and then they're kind of like all in a conveyor belt. You know what I mean? And it seems like they can shoot them out, pretty quickly. Because I mean, we see them come out of all kind of different ways throughout the movies and in the show. But it was cool to see this version of it. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Force Awakens, kind of.
Yeah, okay. Kind of showing the evolution of the Empire's way of using their ships and whatnot.
Yeah, and staging them and getting them ready for battle.
So yeah, dude, then you get to see Slave One versus some more TIE fighters, which was
not a chance. Yeah,
it's always a good thing to see.
And he just blows them. He just uses his blasters for this one.
Right. Yeah, nothing.
Nothing different. He's just spinning around and shooting at them and using his angles that he can hit with that ship, and it was great.
You get to see how skilled of a pilot Boba Fett is in these episodes, which is nice to see. You would think that's in his clone DNA, right?
yeah. How to fly the ship and how to use all its weapons. Yeah.
Right. Not to jump off the rail too far, but something else that just popped in my head when talking about Boba Fett as a clone. And we found out in the tragedy that Jango Fett was a foundling, so he was trained as a Mandalorian. You just made in the prequels, you made a huge army of Mandalorians with the clones,
right?
Like, because he trained the first batch of them, so he's giving them Mandalorian training because that's what he knows. And oh Jesus! And then when Order 66 happens, who is like, aside from the Sith, the biggest enemy of the Jedi? Mandalorians, right?
Yeah.
So you have Order 66, and all of a sudden you have Mandalorians versus Jedi at that point.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh, geez, you're right,
dude.
I didn't even think about that.
I wasn't even going there. That just kind of popped in my head as I was talking about it.
Just popped in there. What popped in there? Yeah, so like Mandalorians kind of like fight the Jedi again, in a certain point of view, a certain way,
right?
From a certain angle, yeah. Because if they were all kind of taught the Mandalorian type of way to fight from Jango, and then DNA from Jango, they're indirectly Mandalorians, and Mandalorians take out the Jedis in Order 66. Wow.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, you sort of get glimpses of it. Like, one thing that pops in my head was Captain Rex in, that was, gosh, what was it? I think it was the Rishi Moon episode when the clones come charging in to retake the base, and Rex is like punching droids, breaking their necks and taking the sword from the one. And like, that's totally, like, thinking back now, that's totally like how a Mandalorian would do it. You know, I mean,
Right.
a few more. You know, they use their more gadgets and whatnot, but
That's the way they would fight, right?
yeah, dude, that's crazy. Ugh. Anyways, just all kind of popped in my head. So, where were we? Oh,
Slave One, I think, just about to split the scene.
right, yeah. So they take off, and you get your classic Star Wars, you know, Imperial shuttle crash lands in, and the stormtroopers come running up. Why do they run up? They know what's going to happen.
They were
You
like,
can't park here.
yeah. Can't you read no parking?
Nice.
I was about to say it. Nice. You caught it.
Were you really?
Yeah.
God, that's awesome, dude.
Spaceballs in every Star Wars episode. I mean, you gotta love it.
Oh man, that was great.
They even say, get this thing out of here.
Right, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what kind of made me think of the Spaceballs part. So then obviously, you know, you got your good guys that come running out, guns blazing, and make quick work of the stormtroopers as per usual. Did you happen to notice, and you may not, because I know we're getting older, our memories aren't the greatest, but Koska Reeves, Bo-Katan ropes up one of the stormtroopers, and Koska Reeves uses her jetpack and comes in with a flying knee.
Yeah, the flying knee. Yeah, it does.
And
That was a good 1-2 combo.
Yeah, that was really cool, and it took me back to remember we used to all get together and play that New Japan wrestling game.
Yeah.
Didn't one of us? I don't remember who. One of us used the flying knee all the time, and like I heard. I think it was your voice in my head. You know, it's the flying knee.
Executioner, excellently executed.
Yes. Oh man, those were good times. But yeah, that was a really cool 1-2 punch with those two. I love, like you had said, I think when we first saw Bo-Katan and Koska Reeves and something Woves, I can't remember his first name. It's like Clone Wars live action, and it's like every time we see these Mandalorians do their stuff, I'm like, I go right back to, you know, Clone Wars. It's so
Clone
cool
Wars.
to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And them taking down clankers, and is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty much the stormtroopers, pretty much didn't really put up much of a fight, or they're kind of just more cannon fodder.
Right. Which, you know, I mean, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, you know, this is going, it's going a little too easily for them. And I don't like to be super critical, you know, but sometimes when things just go too easy for the good guys, I'm just like, you know, we need a challenge, you know? So this was kind of where I was like, I kind of leaned back in my chair a little bit. I wasn't at the edge, but they show a shot of Moff Gideon, and he's just like unfazed,
Yeah.
you know. He's just like, I got this. I know what I'm doing. He obviously knew what he was doing. He had a good plan, you know. And then they start showing the booting up of the Dark Troopers, which the sound effects and the music for that, the visuals of them like powering up.
Yeah, I just want to back up a little bit. Back in the ship where they're coming up with the plan. I mean, to take it way back, Dr. Pershing's the one that kind of gives them all the info, because Mandalorian or Din is like, I'm going to be alone on my team, and you guys be the other team. And while they're coming up with the plan,
Right.
so Dr. Pershing's like, well, yeah, but it's got you know, because they're like, it shouldn't have too many stormtroopers. But then Dr. Pershing was like, yeah, but it's got like a whole battalion of dark troopers.
Right.
And he shows them where the room is and everything, and how they have to like warm up and everything, and then how you know, close it is to the brig where Baby Yoda is, and you know, and then they come up with a little plan that they're going to use his credentials to kind of try to make sure that door doesn't open.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I forgot about that. He gives them the little the data spike thing or whatever.
Yeah, he uses his basically his security clearance, I guess, to a security card. Hey, thanks again.
Nice.
Handprint identification, please. Oh man.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so then when after they leave the ship and they take away the first initial stormtroopers, Din's all by himself, and then you hear the music, which is awesome. Him coming down the ramp, all slow. Dun, dun.
Oh yeah. His theme music, it's so good.
Oh man, it's so good. Every time I hear it, it's like, yes, perfect timing.
Right. And dude, and the music for this episode overall, that's going to be a common mention from me during this recording, because there's so many times where the music is just, it's almost John Williams-esque, where it's also telling a story. It's just, it's really well done by Ludwig Göransson. I am impressed.
I have to make note of the Dark Troopers when they sitting there warming up, and the music that's playing, it's kind of like this dubstep electronic type.
Mm-hmm.
Gets you pumped, man. The shots of, like, it almost seemed like the Terminator, like, assembly line or something, with the
dude.
So I don't know. I thought that was like the coolest part of music, other than the ending, of course. But he did a great job with that type of. And then watching the gallery, I guess you get to see how he makes the music. He's got like this wall of like music making, like electronic. I don't know if you watched that episode.
No, not yet, but I mean, go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's one dedicated to the music, and you should check it out, because it kind of shows the instrument that he uses, I guess you could say, or the instruments.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't want to say too much if you haven't seen it.
It's all good. But yeah, you mentioned the Terminator assembly line, and I'm like, yeah, it's totally like, I wasn't getting like, oh, it's just a Terminator, but I was like, this is cool. Like the way they kind of like, what they were on something like a crane type situation where it like pulled them out of their hibernation container or whatever you want to call it, the battery pack. Yeah, and then it just like, it lined them up like perfectly, and these things, I don't know. I thought they were kind of cool. The first time we saw them, I was like, oh, they're not bad. They're a little shiny.
Just shiny.
But this time I'm looking at them and I'm like, okay, so they basically are like a combination of super battle droids from the prequels, Cylons, the T-800. Is it T-800 was the Terminator, the first one?
Right, I think so. Yeah, and then I went to the 1000.
Yeah, the 1000 was the liquid guy. Right. And then stormtroopers, and a little bit of Iron Man, I guess, too. But
did you say super battle droids? Did you say that? Okay, cool. Yeah, totally. I see that.
They're totally like that. Because even the super battle droids kind of have, I think, little rockets in their feet that let them fly. So I was like, I don't know. I was just kind of in awe, and I think, like you were saying, the music really helped there. It really got you ready, and here's more suspense. Din comes around the corner, and those doors are already opening. He's a little too late. He maybe.
Oh no!
Maybe he should have been running instead of looking cool.
Yeah, that's he had to dip, dodge, and dart a couple of stormtroopers on the way, and he got held up there. But but the door opening was definitely. He was like surprised, and he wanted to get that door closed ASAP.
Oh yeah, he really he comes around the corner and sees that, and he's like, no, and starts running, and it's a little too late, dude. This part was, I was actually concerned.
I was too.
Like I really, because you remember I had mentioned that there was some theories floating around that maybe Din would get killed this season, and I'm like, oh my gosh, are they really gonna do it? Because this thing is just like punching him in the, I mean, obviously it's the Beskar and it could take it, but you could tell it was hurting him bad.
Yeah, he was wailing on his face.
Yeah,
and so much so that it dented the wall on the back.
Right.
That was I mean, that thing was, he was taking a beating. He must have been rattling around in there. So I thought, but it held up. But I mean, yeah, you just never thought with the next swing it could like smash his helmet, or dent it. But no, it took it, which is kind of cool. I was wondering, those things weren't made of Beskar, their armor, no. But at the time, I was like, I think there was somebody mentioned that the whole thing, Moff Gideon took all the Beskar from Mandalore or whatever.
Oh yeah, that was something I had brought up at one point, that I was thinking maybe that's how these were made out of Beskar. But
so I had that in my head. So I'm like, oh, this is Beskar versus Beskar, pretty much. But then I'm like, oh no, these are just regular robots with thick armor. And did you see the part where he's like trying to use all his gadgets?
Yeah.
And he does the blowtorch through it and everything, and it doesn't really affect it. And he's like, oh my gosh, I got nothing.
I know, man. He was pulling out all of his he tried everything but the kitchen sink, like,
yeah,
that was a really cool visual though, when that thing was kind of on fire.
Yeah,
like it just kind of added to that like suspense and concern. I really, where you were saying that, well, you weren't totally saying it, but you kind of thought that what happened was going to happen this episode. And this part, I'm just like I said, I was thinking this thing was going to kill him. And if it didn't, I was thinking that the other ones bashing on the glass and the door were going to get through. And then that was going to be it for him. I really felt that they were going to go that way at that point. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're really going to shake things up, aren't they? And
yeah.
And so it got me. I mean, bravo to director, writer, acting. Right. Like I was sold. I thought he was, as 3PO says, I thought he was doomed.
Luckily the robot threw him in the right spot.
yeah. He busts out the Beskar spear. Was that on the ground at that point?
Yeah, at that point, yeah, it was.
Okay, because I'm like, where did this thing come from? Like, I wasn't criticizing or like, oh, where'd you get that? But I was like, where did this thing come from? Because I didn't see it at all. I remember hearing
there's a shot where it's in the background, so you totally see it. Yeah,
awesome. And then he masterfully destroys that thing. That was so cool.
Oh yeah, he finds a weak spot. Oh, so good.
Yeah, that was great. I was totally into it. And then what from there? Oh, this part I was like, oh well, I think we're gonna see these guys again. He shoots them out of the airlock.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, well, they're robots. I mean, what's that really gonna? It's not gonna kill them.
Well, for real, you thought that? I thought they were gone for good.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Until you hear them come back, or
Okay, so they got you there. That's good.
They did. They got me there, and I was like, "That's it. That's it." These things are weak. These things are, I mean, not weak, but like this is totally weak sauce.
Yeah.
That this whole build up, and then you show how awesome it is, and then you shoot them all out the window. It's like, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, but understandable, seeing what one could do, you knew that if they didn't get rid of him, how could the good guys come out on top? You know?
These things were hard to kill.
Yeah, these things are legit, and I don't, not to jump too far ahead, but I don't think this is the last we'll see of those things. There's got to be more.
Okay,
maybe. There should be, at least.
Dr. Pershing said that these are the third versions of this,
Yeah, phase 3 or whatever.
Phase 3. So it took the human element completely out.
Yep.
So maybe we'll see phase 4 or something with the blood. I don't know.
I think you mean phase Quatros.
Oh, right. Phase Quatros.
So, yeah, he gets them out the airlock, and next step is Grogu. I had a feeling Gideon was going to be there. This guy, I don't think he's like a super villain, but I think he's smart.
Yeah, he's definitely smart.
Very smart. And he had me convinced at first I'm like, there's no way he's going to let Mando just take Grogu and leave. but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe he's gonna. He said, all I wanted was to study his blood.
Right.
This child is extremely gifted. And has been blessed with rare properties that have the potential to bring order back to the galaxy. So, I mean, he was very convincing that he got what he needed. And in that line, what were you thinking when he said that? Were you thinking like the cloning of Palpatine or Snoke or something else?
Definitely Snoke, or early version of Snoke, or something, I mean, definitely Snoke. Yeah.
Okay.
At this point, it's pretty clear, like, these are the seeds that are going to bring the First Order. There's a lot of little hints and everything. So,
yeah, I figured it had to do something, with one of those. But yeah, it makes more sense that it would be Snoke. Yeah, I thought that he was going to let them go. Kind of a live to fight another day situation. He got what he wanted, and he wasn't ready to maybe face Bo-Katan.
I was thinking the same thing, but then I'm like, well, Bo-Katan's got to get that Darksaber. So how's that going to work out? And then finally he answered my question by attacking Mando. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Right. And dude, I wouldn't go as far as saying that, that sword versus spear, the sword fight was like one of the best, by any stretch, but I think it was well choreographed.
Yeah, it was.
The music again for that fight was phenomenal. And you could tell, I think Gideon, he wasn't super skilled, but you could tell he knew how to use that. He knew how to wield that Darksaber.
Yeah, he did.
Which makes me more, like I just want to know how he got that thing. And I hope they touch on that somewhere.
Well, to skip a little bit ahead, I guess, if we find out that you need to, win it in battle.
Right.
So he obviously won it in battle from Bo-Katan. So
it's just it's shocking to think that, I mean, he must be really good at using that thing. Well, what was he using though? I guess is my question, because like you see in the Clone Wars, Darth Maul fights Pre-Vizsla. Pre-Vizsla has the Darksaber. Obviously, Darth Maul is using a lightsaber.
Yeah.
What did Moff Gideon use? Because Bo-Katan had the Darksaber at that point, so she had to have been using it. Yeah, I don't know. I hope they tell that story. I know that's pretty much how, if I remember correctly, that's pretty much how the ruler of Mandalore, comes to be, is a fight like that, and whoever wins takes the throne. So I like that they're still, grabbing from Old Republic, EU, Clone Wars, all that stuff. I love that they know their Mandalorian lore, which is awesome. I love it.
I guess there's books and everything too that.
Yeah, which I kind of want to start reading, even though it's all, not, I guess, canon at this point, but I'd still like to read it just to see where they were going with that stuff.
Because listening to other podcasts, they were talking about Jango's father or whatnot,
yeah,
and then through that whole little chain that was in Boba Fett's armor, the whole little, I guess
the chain code.
The chain code. So I guess in that chain code, somebody deciphered it, and it mentions Jango's father, which I guess was a big part of these books that came out. I'm not too sure what they're called, but I'm sure they're pretty good reads, and they're coming into canon pretty much. So.
Right. Was it his father or was it mentor? I can't remember.
Oh, maybe like the foundling guy, the guy who actually found him, probably.
Okay.
Or took him in.
That's some EU that I must have, I don't know. That must have been after I stopped reading a lot of the EU stuff. Because I don't remember ever reading it or hearing about it. But yeah, it's definitely got me interested to go back and find those books.
It's just so much. It's hard to keep up, and it seemed like every time you went to the bookstore, there was just like a whole new crop of Star Wars books. So.
Oh yeah. So it was cool seeing the Beskar spear versus the Darksaber. You also saw before he had the spear using his armor to block the Darksaber attacks like he did with Ahsoka.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, did he? I mean, is that something that he's trained for? Is that something that Mandalorians train for? Use your armor to block lightsaber attacks? Because I mean, against Ahsoka, he immediately just puts his arms up. And,
yeah, those gauntlets take a big beating.
mm-hmm.
He uses those a lot.
Right.
I guess it must be part of his. I mean, because he did that in the Believer episode. That he goes to do that same move, but his armor breaks apart when he's on top of the Juggernaut. Was it
something like that? Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, the armor just shatters.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, can't do that move."
Dude, that was something else that we I don't think we touched on too. Was when he goes back inside to sit down in the the passenger seat of that thing, you hear him like, like he's in pain, man. He's not used to. He's used to that armor kind of taking most of the force.
Yeah, he was definitely out of his element in that. And not comfortable in that whole suit that he was in.
Right.
It's definitely. I have to watch that one again, and after listening to all the podcasts about it, and reassess.
Yeah. Same here. I was actually thinking we should maybe we should recap the whole season, and just kind of talk about our highs and lows and questions and whatnot for all of season 2, I think, because there's a lot of stuff that I think we have forgotten, and we started doing those what we missed episodes midweek, but we just didn't have time to keep doing it lately. But I don't know, maybe we should come out with a recap of season 2.
That's a good idea.
Nice. Maybe
go back, start at episode 1 and see how the hints and everything that were there that we missed, because we know the whole season now, and be like, oh yeah, there's a hint right there. I just thought of something. Gonna go back to Bo-Katan. The second time I watched this, I caught this. When they're on the ship and they're on the way to they're coming up with on the way to they're in hyperspace, right?
Yeah.
Both ships are in hyperspace, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. That was something else. I'll let you. I just want to interrupt for 1 second.
Yeah.
That was visually really awesome to see the ships in hyperspace.
That was very cool. Bo-Katan makes it a point to say Moff Gideon is mine, and what she, I think what she's saying without saying anything is like she wants to fight Moff Gideon so she can get that Darksaber back.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes total sense.
Right, because she knows, Mando doesn't know the way of her type of Mandalorian way, but she knows that she needs to fight. Basically, she needs to best him in battle and take and cut his head off like in Highlander.
Nice. There can be only one. Dude, good catch, man. Yeah, that makes so much more sense to why she was like kind of, mad when Din comes in with Gideon as his, captive, and he's
exactly.
Dude, and he's got the freaking Darksaber ignited when he walks in. I'm like, man, that is cool.
That was cool for him and us, but not for Bo-Katan.
Right, because she knew what had to happen at that point.
And I must be a Bo-Katan fan because I'm kind of rooting for her to get that Darksaber back. At this point, and because I want her to be ruler of Mandalore, because I feel bad because there's of everything that went down, and and she's trying. So I'm rooting for her at this point. I should be rooting for Mando.
Well, I mean, you make your choice who you want to root for. I'm with you in the fact that she was in charge, and she lost it. So yeah, I want her to get it back. She felt a little like Daenerys Targaryen here,
Yeah.
Like I kind of felt like obviously more mature but she wanted to take back what was hers, and that that was a common theme in Game of Thrones. Yeah, I mean, I'm there. I think that she needs to get it back, and here's this honorable guy.
Yeah,
Like, here, just take it.
just take it.
Take it. And he doesn't know. He doesn't know that that's the way of the true Mandalorians, I guess. Not the cult that brought him up.
Right.
Is she needs to earn it.
She needs to best him, or else it wields no power. Because he said the story. It's the story that, right? Moff Gideon says it's not about the sword. It's about the story behind the sword, or something like that.
Yes.
How she got the sword. That's what rallies the troops, and it makes her powerful. So now she's like, great, I have to fight the Mandalorian, or I have to fight Din,
right.
or which I was expecting to see right there.
Oh, were you?
Yeah,
right then and there. Okay,
that's what I was expecting to see. I said, because I mean, that's her quest,
mm-hmm.
And so I didn't get that. So I feel a little cheated, I guess I could say.
Well,
but I guess we shelve it for next season. Which
I was going to say, yeah, I think that this is where you see, this is what's coming season 3. You're going to see the story of. I think this is we're going to see probably not much of Grogu in season 3. I don't want to jump too far into it just now, but just to touch on what you were saying, I get it. I would totally, if I was expecting to see that fight right then and there, I would feel a little let down that it didn't happen. But just to kind of, I guess, maybe help you a little bit, is you're going to see it next season. Right?
But Mando has no beef with her at all, and he's kind of like, in a way, like indebted to her, because like she let him know that it's okay for him to take his helmet off. You know what I mean? Because she does it all the time, or it's not like a big deal to their sect. And look what he's doing these last 2 episodes. So it's like, not to jump ahead. I'm sorry, but I had to.
No, I mean, he doesn't have a beef with her, but he has something that she wants. It's it's setting. I guess if anything, it's maybe setting her as the villain of next season, because it's hard to say honestly, because she did not look happy at all.
No.
And I don't think it was unhappiness as, oh, I got to fight this guy. I think it was unhappiness as, I don't want to fight this guy, right. Like not afraid of him, but knowing, like he's basically innocent, obviously he's a bounty hunter. He's killed people, whatever, but she can see the good in him, a common Star Wars theme. I see the good in him.
Right.
And I think she's, she's dank ferricking, she's like, I don't want to fight this guy, but I need my throne. I need my sword,
Oh, right.
I think a lot of crazy stuff is going to go down. That's what I think.
I'm going to right turn you real quick here. When you said dank ferric, we forgot to touch on their whole the 4 women come through and annihilate stormtroopers left and right after they leave the ship, the Imperial shuttle. They just go on a tear, and they're crossing that bridge with the force field there. What's that called? That they mentioned it. I forgot the name of it. Anyways, they're on the bridge, and a couple of guys come out, and they're like, "Yeah, this is too easy." And it's almost like what we're thinking, It's like, yeah, this is too easy for them. What's going on here?
Right.
But I mean, the real threat on that ship is the Dark Troopers, but that's fine. And then the stormtroopers manage to stop them from moving on the ship, on the bridge, but Bo-Katan and Koska Reeves, fly off, and then they come back and shoot all the stormtroopers. That was cool.
That was cool, like a little crossfire thing going on.
Right. And then Cara Dune gets her, as they keep moving forward, Cara Dune's gun jams and she's Dank Farraking it. That's pretty funny. But at that time, I'm like, wait a minute. Here we are. We're watching like this action movie. And you know what I mean? And you got Mando. And it's, Star Wars. And we've got four women and one guy. You know what I mean? It's usually like the other way around.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool to see, and the women are just completely like BA. Like, I just wanted to mention that, like, cool storytelling. It's like, you know what I mean? It's not like I didn't see them as women. It's just like I just took notice of it real quick. I'm like, oh man, this is totally flipping the script. It's usually like one female. Like if you look back, there's usually like in the Jailbreak episode, there was like one female and the rest were guys.
Oh right, yeah.
So here we come, and it's in the finale, the big episode, and it's one guy and four females going in, and well, two guys really, but one's in the ship.
Yeah, that's a good catch. I would say that, you go back to the very first Star Wars film, A New Hope, and Carrie Fisher / Princess Leia set the table for that, to have this BA female group.
Right.
George Lucas, I think, was ahead of his time when it comes to that stuff. Even in the prequels, you had Padme, and the Clone Wars, you had Ahsoka and Padme and Satine. Like it just kept building up. It was really cool, and I like these characters too. Like there isn't one of them that I dislike. I thought for sure that when I found out Sasha Banks was going to be, and I mentioned this before, I thought for sure when I found out she was going to be in the show, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I mean, she's cool in the WWE and whatnot, and she's, very talented, but I was unsure about her in this, and I want to see more of her. I think she's cool. She's totally BA.
Yeah.
Same with Cara, sort of the same with Cara Dune. I don't think I liked her a lot until the end of her first episode she was in. Like when she first arrived, I'm just like, oh, she's just going to be like kind of this grunt, like beat people up, which she is. But there's so much more to her character. There's a lot of depth there that hopefully they cover in some other stories. And then Fennec Shand. Bo-Katan. I mean, I've loved her ever since she showed up in the Clone Wars, and Katie Sackhoff's amazing. Right. But Fennec Shand, I'm like, dude, she's freaking, like, she had another moment, like in the tragedy in this episode where she's plowing through and she's doing like somersaults and headshot and stormtroopers.
She does the somersault, the Battlefront somersault. Shoot.
Right. Yes. Nice.
Your own little, it's pretty much your own, like, get out of the shooting. Your only option in Battlefront to move is to use that somersault move. She totally did it.
That she did. That's awesome. I'm glad you brought that up. That stuff up, because I do have it. I had it in my notes, but I kind of scrolled past it, just because I'm excited. This episode was awesome.
Yeah.
But so they captured Moff Gideon. He's, explaining how things are going to go with the Darksaber. And I think, dude, just the look on his face, like, I think this was his plan, like a fail-safe. I can get Bo-Katan off my butt since this guy's got, I was defeated in the sword fight. Here's another plan I got. I can try to turn these two against each other. Mm-hmm. Which is like you were saying, you were expecting to see that fight. I think so was Moff Gideon. He's like, okay, well, if these two fight, this gives me a chance. All while I think he had an idea that those Dark Troopers were coming back.
So, did he throw the fight with Mando?
No, that part I don't. I think that he was stirring this idea up while they were on their way to the bridge. I
gotcha.
think. No, I think Mando bested him. I don't know if the staff training comes as part of being a foundling or whatever, but he was obviously trained enough in using something, a weapon like that he definitely, I think he definitely bested him. I don't think he threw the fight.
Okay.
But I think at that point he's like, okay, so how can I get my way out of this? And I think that's what he came up with, was turning those two against each other, because he didn't know that there was somebody else on their way, to help these people. And maybe he knew that the Dark Troopers were coming back. I kind of got a feeling there.
The Dark Troopers were definitely, he knows their threat level, and they didn't have a chance against the Dark Troopers. He knew that.
Right.
So maybe he's just trying to buy some time till the Dark Troopers came back.
Something like that, yeah. And then he found that conveniently got tossed right by a blaster on the ground.
I'm gonna hide this.
Yeah, but credit to I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce his name right, Giancarlo Esposito. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm not a fan of him. I don't know anything he's been in. I never watched Breaking Bad. I think he was in. I couldn't get into that show. But credit to him, like, in his acting in this episode for sure. He had me sold in so many different spots where I'm like, I'm believing this guy, and then it's like, nope, he's gonna do a U-turn, and I was really impressed by his acting. So,
for real, I thought he was going to let Mando take the child. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. He did a good job of, like, saying the way he needed to say things for me to believe him. And Mando believed him, because I think he went after the child. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, he was going. He was about to pick him up, and that's when you hear the Darksaber ignite.
Yeah.
So here's where I was thinking the season, or the episode, the season was going to end when they get those readings on the radar, and it's like, how many life forms? None. You knew the Dark Troopers were coming back. I'm like, okay, so now you have all these Dark Troopers pounding on the door, basically, and you've got just a small group. I mean, we saw what one was doing to Din. They had no chance. So here's where my head was at this point. I'm like, okay,
cue the Jedi.
Well, no, that wasn't even where I was at. I was like, this is how this season's going to end. These guys are good. These droids are going to get through, and it's just going to be mostly a massacre, right? They might take a few with them, but I thought we were going to see, like, maybe Cara Dune and Koska Reeves or something get taken out.
Yeah.
And the rest of the group being near death, injured. And then you see Moff Gideon pick up Grogu and his Darksaber and leave with the Dark Troopers. And I thought I was like, they're going to end it with this. But then I'm like, I don't know. They built this thing up where there was a Jedi. There's some kind of Jedi was going to show up. I'm like, I don't know if they're going to let us down. What was going through your head at that point when the Dark Troopers were coming back to the ship?
Pounding at the door, I'm like, where's the Jedi? Where is the Jedi? Where's the Jedi? Jedi, where are you? And then you see the X-Wing.
Oh my gosh.
And then it's like, there you are. And I'm like, what Jedi flies the X? Oh, no, you know what? I actually thought that it was Carlson for a second. Or Carson?
Carson and Wolves.
Yeah.
Wolf.
It would make a little bit of sense, because they're looking for Empire remnants. And that's what they are. So, like, but, once you saw everything going down on the monitors of, like, who it was, and it was pretty clear it was the Jedi. At this point, I didn't know. I didn't know who the Jedi was. I was like, okay, from my previous episode, who I thought the Jedi was going to be.
Right.
Grasping at straws, Mr. Butt. And that's who I thought it should have been. In my heart, in my heart of hearts, like, I think that would have been awesome. So the fact that it was this one here, it seemed like a little bit like not a surprise in a way.
Okay.
You know what I mean? This is where I need you to convince me otherwise.
Okay, so
that is the coolest thing we've seen since the Return of the Jedi.
Let me interrupt then.
Take it away.
So the same. It was sort of the same thing when I saw the X-wing. Okay, I'm like, oh, okay, it's gonna be Carson and Wolf, and then you only see one X-wing, and I'm like, then I started getting the goosebumps. Right? I'm like, one X-wing, and Cara Dune, she's like, one X-wing, great, we're saved. Sarcastically, and I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, is that Red 5? I'm like, is that freaking? I'm like shouting in my basement at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like, there's no freaking way. I'll censor what I was saying, legit. But I'm like, is that Red 5? And then they try to hail him on the comm, and there's no response. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, this has got to be him. I'm like, who else? Who else just shows up in an X-wing?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
And the music starts going, and I'm like, oh man, I was like, dude, I was seriously, I was goosebumps city. I was like, yes, we talked about it. Okay. We talked about who it could be. And
yeah. You even asked me if it could be this person.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I was like, no.
No. and even my brother, let me pull up my phone really quick, because he texted me. It was actually while I was sleeping, but my brother's just a few years older than us. I guess there's no real way to say this. No, okay, I got it. He was like, I didn't think they had the whats to do this.
Right.
And
me too.
And that's
exactly what I was thinking. What your brother was saying. Exactly
Nice.
what I was thinking. There's no way they bring back and open up this can, because this is a can.
Oh yeah.
This is a can that they're opening, and they closed the can, and now they're reopening it, and they're like, "Why?" Well, I mean, do you understand the implications of this can that you're opening? Like, this is messing with people's like feelings now. This is personal. You know what I mean? This is the personal thing to bring back this character. I mean, they did it with Leia. They kind of did it with Han. But to bring back the character, you got to do it right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I mean, at least for me, I think they did it right. I think this was everything that I wanted to see in the sequel trilogy.
Right.
Like this is. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. It's friggin' Luke Skywalker. I'm like this. And whatever, I get people out there love the sequels, and they can. I'm not one of those people that are like, oh gosh, I hate it, everyone should hate it. I don't even hate it anymore. But this is what I wanted in those. I wanted to see, I mean, the way he's in, they're watching him on those screens, and he's just trashing these dark troopers, and it was like watching Anakin in his prime. It was like watching Anakin in his prime, just annihilating stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Dude.
It was totally Clone Wars, Anakin destroying droids, and in the movies, like it was totally that, and it was totally Darth Vader destroying like the guys on Rogue One.
And
choking things and moving things and the lightsaber in the smoke and everything. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like exactly to the T. You got little hints of who it was with the glove,
and the green saber,
the belt buckle, the robe, the colors, the X-wing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was. I'll be honest, it takes a lot to get me to this place, but I had tears in my eyes. I was just like, I was stunned. Like I said, like you were saying, like my brother was saying, I didn't think they were going to do this. I wanted it, but I didn't think they were actually going to go there. And, you see the hood up, and he's, the first shot basically of him walking down that corridor with the hood up. And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, he's got like you said, the Vader and the Anakin just presence. And
This is
You
him
had to
at
know.
this is him at his prime.
Right.
This isn't him. This is not him learning. This is not him, being a scared farm boy. This is him post Return of the Jedi, post, defeating the Emperor in a way, and making his father like turn to the light side, and post, this is era of the Empire Luke Skywalker.
There you go. Right there, my friend. It is the EU Luke Skywalker. Dare we say Grandmaster Jedi at this point?
Grandmaster. Yeah, I mean, this guy knows what he knows. He's not afraid. He's in control. He's balanced. He's on a mission, and he executes. And he's not, grieving over, he hasn't made mistakes. He's the Luke Skywalker that you know and you and you love.
Yes.
So
he's not the grumpy Luke that we get later on. He is the Luke that you remember as a kid.
As a kid, as you played with his figure, like as you saw him. So did they do him justice?
I think so, absolutely. This is everything. The whole situation with him, it's everything I wanted. I mean, I wish it was 30 something years, 40 years earlier, so it could just be the Mark Hamill. But no, I think they did it justice. I think they opened up, like you said, Quatros. They opened up this can, and I think it was a good can to open, because you've got 30 years, 20 something years before The Force Awakens.
Right.
It's probably not the last time we're going to see this guy, before then. But dude, he's out looking for younglings. And the way he was looking at Grogu, I love the way that like Ahsoka looked at Grogu. I love the way Luke's looking, because obviously they see him as his own person, but they see Yoda. There's no way you can beat around that. They see Yoda in that little guy. Who doesn't?
Right. Does it give you a little bit of? Does it make you think a little bit of Grogu's future? It did for me.
Oh yeah, I'm worried about Grogu.
Yeah, I'm worried about him too.
Because after a little while, spoiler alert of the sequel trilogy, but what happens to the Jedi Temple? Is Grogu going to escape this purge? I don't know. We don't know. We have no idea. Maybe, who knows? We haven't even seen, season 3 and 4 of The Mandalorian. So, but yeah, it definitely got me thinking.
Yeah, it definitely got me thinking as well. It's like, this is happy. I'm happy that Luke's back, but then, without Grogu being in the sequels, it's like I fear that this is the beginning of the end of Grogu, in a way, until I know otherwise. Right.
Which, I mean, I guess, not that it makes it any better, but yeah, I mean, we kind of, we see where they are in the sequels. I guess we kind of should expect it, I guess, maybe. Just because, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't want to expect it.
No, I know. I hear you. And
I want to be completely, blindsided.
I get that.
Unless those movies are the real thing anymore. You know what I mean?
We don't know at this point.
We don't.
Anything can happen.
Unless there's an alternate reality situation going on here, which would be great. But is it really something that they could do?
To answer that, yes.
Okay, yeah, I mean, they could.
Only because, I mean, just seeing what Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni have done with this show, and seeing that Kathleen Kennedy, at least I'm starting to think, sees the potential in what these guys are, capable of. I mean, look at all the stuff that they just, greenlit, all these new things. I think anything's possible. And I think that Kathleen Kennedy realizes what she has in these two guys, You know, I don't know. I won't be disappointed if it doesn't happen.
Right.
But if it does, I mean, this might. we could talk for hours. This might open the door to a lot of bringing back EU stuff.
This is the can I'm talking about. Like, you either, start making direct connections to the sequels trilogy, or you stop and start coming up with a new sequel trilogy type of scenario, because we're going to all be thinking, okay, anything moving forward, okay, so is this part of the sequel trilogy? Is it, you know what I mean? If we, you know what I mean? Is it going to be down the road? That's the only thing I want to be thinking about is like, is it connected or is it not connected? Because it'd be like the first. I mean, they've already chopped off books upon books about, you know what I mean?
Right.
They've already decanonized a bunch of stuff. So, and thinking like they did it with Spider-Man, like, you know what I mean? They just said the Tobey Maguire movies they're not relevant anymore. So
right.
I don't know. That wasn't Disney at that point or whatever. I don't know. But
no,
like, they keep rebooting. They keep rebooting things, and it's not connected. So it'd be huge that we invested all this time and energy and everything into these 3 movies to kind of make them okay in our minds, that they're actually 3 of George's movies, which they're not. But we've, as fans, like, made them, as best we can. We've come to terms with them as part of the original, part of the original story, which it's not. Or is this the true beginning of post Return of the Jedi story, Star Wars? Like, this is my problem a little bit.
See, I'm kind of leaning towards that though, because why would they be bringing this stuff out right now? Why would they? I mean, there are some connections from The Mandalorian to the sequel trilogy, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it really just depends on how it's written, how things go. There's a lot of time between this and that movie, The Force Awakens.
Gideon talks about the Order, is that the first Order? Like, brings order to the galaxy again. And
oh yeah, and so does Valen Hess, I think, mentions that too.
Valen Hess too.
So they're kind of hinting towards it. I think we are just seeing, at the very least, what we're seeing is, I think we're going to see somehow, some way, the bringing up of this new Jedi temple that Kylo Ren eventually destroys.
And then that would be it. And then the sequel trilogy is legit.
I don't know. I honestly haven't really been able to process all that yet. and I don't know that I need to, I guess. because I mean, we got Luke Skywalker on a TV series. We got to see him. We got to see. I'm
classically pulling the cart before the horse shows up.
Nice.
Which is, so that's what I like. I don't know. That's what I do. Like, I'm not worried about right now. Okay. Like,
yeah.
I'm worried about later.
Yeah. No, there's a lot. I get that.
Got Luke Skywalker back. This is a historic day in Star Wars.
And it's, like I said, it's not grumpy.
A lot
Skywalker.
Of right. No, it's not grumpy Luke Skywalker. And here's the thing: it's like it just went completely. Like, I feel like I'm not on. I didn't get tears in my eyes. I didn't. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel the
really?
Goosebumps. Yeah, I didn't get any of that because I was just like lost in this whole. What does this mean as far as the sequels? Because that was where my mind went. It's messed up. Like, I totally. You know what I mean? I this whole historic moment just kind of fell flat for me, I guess. Which I don't. Which you know what I mean? Which is sad, and I'm sad because, like, there's no more Mandalorian too. So it's like I'm on that kind of wavelength. I wasn't hyped for the last episode. I was bummed for the last episode, and I want to be happy and I want to be excited for the future and not so. That's just the way I took it, man. It's messed up.
See, I guess the good part for me was I don't think about the sequels. I don't. I really don't. I try to not think about the sequels, which is funny because a couple of years ago, The Force Awakens was one of my favorite movies. But the stuff that came after it, whatever,
Right.
whole other story. But yeah, no, I wasn't really. I didn't have the sequels on my mind. I had what's going to happen next, like you. But I had what's going to happen next, as in we're seeing EU, like you said, we're seeing the heir to the Empire, Luke Skywalker. We're seeing him in his prime, and I'm like, okay, there's so much they can do here that could bypass the sequel trilogy. That was really my only thought about the sequel trilogy, was maybe we're going to work around that thing somehow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you get enough writers in a room, they'll figure it out, I'm sure.
yeah,
I just letting you know, I didn't get the feeling that everybody else got, and I feel like I'm missing out.
So let me ask you this.
And I want it. You know what I mean? I want it.
Right. So you remember in A New Hope, Star Wars, Luke Skywalker comes into that cell block and takes off his helmet, and he's like, "I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you."
Yeah.
The name of this episode is The Rescue.
Right.
Luke Skywalker comes to the rescue, like you expect him to.
I expect him to say the line too. I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
That would have been kind of cool, but you don't see that. You see this calm and wise, balanced Jedi, where he's just kind of he stands there and looks at them with the look of a Jedi master, and Din's like, are you Jedi? I am. Straight up, I am. I don't even know if he even said his name. I don't think he did.
No, I don't think so.
Not that he definitely didn't need to.
Not for us. No.
Yeah, but
in the way little Grogu is holding on to his hand to the monitor, like that's my future master coming to get me.
Dude, yeah, that was something I wanted to bring up too. Was I guess this would be credit to Peyton Reed, the director. Is you're watching the heroes of this episode watch on screen.
Yeah,
the Jedi.
Totally. A little bit of interframing again. Almost.
Yeah, it was really. I wasn't a fan of the passenger episode we talked about. When we watched that, I wasn't a big fan of it. It didn't do anything for me. But it certainly had nothing to do with the director, because same director for this one, and this was so well directed. Like, I love so much about this episode, and I thought it was cool that they're witnessing just masterful lightsaber action here, and we're witnessing it with them, like we were all like grouped together, we're sitting there with Bo-Katan and Din Djarin and baby Grogu, and
we had a good seat too. Like, we could see the whole screen and everything. Nobody's in our way.
Right. It was just so cool. And yeah, I was trying to figure out what Grogu was doing, but I guess you pretty much answered my question there. He was like just touching the screen and watching, like, that's my new Jedi Master. And
yeah,
it was just really well done. I liked the part when it's over, before it's over, he crushed, he uses the Force to crush that last one. I'm like, this is cool.
Yes, he does. It's all cool. It's all cool. It just led me wanting more, man. More. I didn't want it to be the end. I wanted it to be, I don't know, a couple more episodes or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there. I always definitely would want more of that. But so Din's like, open the doors, and Fennec's like, are you crazy? Like, why would you do that? And then there he is with his lightsaber still ignited, hood on, and the music.
Yeah, the music and everything was great. I was going to mention that. was all the theme. Was that like Luke Skywalker theme? I mean,
Yeah.
I probably don't. Yeah. So I mean, that was awesome to hear it again. It's just
Right.
like it's so great.
You know, he takes off that hood, and it's like, I mean, I knew it was him, obviously, but you know, I'm assuming that's CGI, right?
Right. And here's another thing. I don't know if you remember, but you know, when we started doing the news, we did a little news bit on the fact that Mark Hamill signed away his likeliness to
Right.
Disney. And I think that was also going through my mind, like, oh man, this is what they're using the likeliness for. I thought it was like going to be for a movie, but they did it for the show. And that pretty much not spoiled things for me, but like, you know, it was like, well, we're going to see Mark Hamill eventually somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With that bit of news. So here it is. So not that it spoiled me, but like maybe it kind of, you know, did.
I think maybe you were just hoping it was going to be Joris Kaboth, and you were kind of just like, you were set on that, to where I don't think, and I'm not trying to make you feel bad for how you feel or anything like that, but I think that maybe you set yourself up to be like, oh, it's just Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, think so. It just looks, but I shouldn't be. It's just Luke Skywalker. I should be like, it's Luke Skywalker, and I want to be like that.
Maybe you need to watch it again. I don't know. I mean, you know, don't feel bad about how you feel. That's how it goes.
That's how I gotta let you guys know what I'm really feeling. It's like,
yeah,
it's Luke Skywalker. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's him. He's back. Like, and I want to see more.
I don't know that we'll see more. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with that.
Yeah.
But again, we'll find out. They're doing so much. You know, so there's just the brief conversation between Luke and Dan, and Luke, you know, Luke says he's waiting for your permission to let him go or whatever. And you get that moment that again got me. He picks up Grogu and you know, basically tells him it's okay, you know, we'll see each other again, I promise. And Grogu touches his helmet, like, let me see your face, man.
Yeah.
And Din's just like, doesn't even hesitate. He takes the helmet off, and
right.
And Grogu like touching his face. I'm just like, oh my gosh, dude, what are they doing? At least to me, for this, because I'm like, I saw Red 5. I see Luke Skywalker just annihilating stuff. And that's, you know, everything that happened before this part was cool. You know, the dark saber and the Beskar spear, and you know, you see, you know, Grogu like touching Mando's face, and you know, you see the emotion on Pedro's face, and I'm right there with him. And then he puts him down, and you know, he looks down, and Grogu's kind of like grabbing his leg, looking up at him, like,
grabbing his leg,
just like, oh my gosh, man.
Oh man.
And then freaking R2D2 comes rolling in, and I'm like, what the?
Yeah, seriously, I was like, it's R2.
Oh my gosh. I did not expect at all, which is kind of silly when you think about it, because R2 always rode in the X-Wing, you know, with him. But I mean, come on, I didn't think we were going to see Luke. I didn't think they were going to actually do it. And then you bring in R2D2 as well, and I'm like, oh my gosh. and R2D2's all whistling and beeping at Grogu, and I'm like, what are they saying to each other? I put the subtitles on because I'm like, are they going to tell me what they're saying? No, they didn't. No. You know, and all I could do is go back to Empire when Yoda and R2D2 first met, and you know, mine, and he's banging him with the stick, and you know, I'm just like, oh gosh, I'm just like, this
little Grogu was intrigued by him though.
Yeah, really, big time. This was just, to me, classic Star Wars. It just had all the right elements: the music, the emotion, the mostly happy ending, even though it was kind of
heartbreaking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, and then you see the kind of close up on Din's face, and you see the water in his eyes, and
You see the water in his eyes.
but he still has enough to like give one last little smile to Grogu before the elevator doors close, and just because he's trying to be strong for the kid. I think they don't want the kid to see me break down because it'll make him sad, and
right. You want him to like have a positive, but I mean, Grogu's like the next Anakin, because we don't know who his father was. If he, was his M counts through the roof again.
Mhm.
Was he made through the midichlorians again? Like, he's starting his training, obviously older. I mean, he's already had training.
Right.
Like, he's leaving a loved one. He's going to Luke, who we obviously know fails his students. You know what I mean? Like the light at the tunnel, it doesn't seem very bright for the little Grogu guy. You know what I mean? He seems like the dark side is going to be ever present in his. He's not going to be like a true Ahsoka Jedi. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
he's going to have this darkness.
Maybe he, for all we know, he could try to do the training with Luke, and maybe once he starts talking, he's like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I want to go and I want to be a foundling. He could go back to Din and put on some Mando armor. You never know.
Never know.
I don't know. For me, man, I think that this was like the best episode of the series.
A plus.
Yeah, and it's like I keep thinking, when you think about Favreau and Filoni, and from like I think they can't possibly top their best episode. I thought that with I can't remember the name of it, the Heiress. I'm like, this is cool. You get some Clone War, live action Clone Wars, and this is cool. Then they hit me, with Ahsoka, and I'm just like, okay, how are they going to top this? Then they hit me with Slave One and Boba Fett, and I'm like, and throw the news that Jango was a foundling, and I'm like, there's what else are they going to do? I mean, they can't. And then they come out with this, and it's so like if Moff Gideon was Grand Admiral Thrawn instead of Moff Gideon, this would be so like probably the closest we're going to see of those Thrawn, the original Thrawn trilogy series.
Right.
But even still, like it just I don't know. I was mind blown like this whole time. I'm just like, this is the kind of Star Wars I want, and this season it had, I guess 2 episodes for me that I was just kind of like, they were cool, but they didn't really do much. But overall, I think the season was amazing.
It was some amazing TV.
Yeah. Like I didn't think they'd be able to top the stuff that they did in season 1.
Right.
But
this was amazing Star Wars. It's like it's too much. You know what I mean? Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I'm getting too much awesomeness at once, and I'm rejecting it in a way because I can't believe it. Maybe I need to like. I'm gonna hold off my final grade because I don't think I could do it today.
Okay. You want to kind of process and
seriously.
Yeah. No,
I
get that.
I really don't want to. It's sad. I don't. Like I've got too much to think about.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
I will agree there. There was a lot. And we didn't even really touch on the last part. But
with Moff and everything going shooting up Bo-Katan and
there's just like you said, there's so much. But that part, dude. I thought he killed Bo-Katan.
Me too.
And 2, I thought he hit Baby Yoda with a shot.
Yeah, he definitely had a moment there where he could.
Yeah, I was
Thank
like,
God Din slid in there, saved home plate.
Right. Yeah, he definitely. I mean, that was close. That was a really close call. And then and then Moff is like, "Well, I'm screwed." Puts the blaster to his his neck, and Cara Dune's like, "Nope, you're not getting away with this."
Whoosh. Yep. She took
That
him
was
out.
cool. Yeah, but yeah, then they didn't. That was before Luke came in, so
Right.
you didn't see Bo-Katan for a minute, to where I was like, "Oh, is she?" Is she dead? But then she was the one that was hailing the X-Wing. So,
Right.
or no, that was before that.
I thought it was the other Casca Reeves that I thought got shot because I can't really tell them apart in their armor.
Yeah. The only
then,
way you can really tell is like Bo-Katan's got like the white on the front.
The second watch, I noticed it was Bo-Katan, yeah. But my initial was like, oh no, somebody had to go though, but nobody did.
Nobody did, which I mean, I thought for sure, and this is just because this seems to be a lot of the way modern writing goes, is that you kill off a character, and
yeah.
they even did it last year with Queel, Nick Nolte's character.
Exactly.
So I was kind of expecting someone to go, but I'm glad nobody did, because there's so much room for these characters still to grow and to build on. Thought it was cool that Moff, tried to take himself out, but he didn't get away with it, which means obviously we're going to see more of him. The episode kind of ends on a happy end, heartbreaking moment. Who knows if or when we'll see Grogu again? Hopefully we do. And then the credits roll, and I started writing down some initial notes just because I didn't want to forget a couple of things that were fresh on the mind. And all of a sudden the credits stop, and I'm like, wait, what? You see the twin sons on Tatooine, and I'm like, wait, they don't do after credits in Star Wars. What is this? And then I'm like, okay, they're showing Tatooine. This has to have some relation to Boba. And you see Jabba's palace. And man, Bib Fortuna's looking like he's been eating like Jabba. He's just this big dude now, and sitting on the throne, and he's got his Twi'lek slave, and he's barking orders to Weequay. And then for whatever reason, man, I thought, at this point I'm like, okay, so they brought in Luke Skywalker, right? And then you hear like a blaster, and you see a shadow of someone coming down the steps. I'm like, is this going to be Leia? Like, what's Leia doing here? I'm like,
right. It almost had the same shot for shot, right?
Yeah, like I was like, whoa, what? They're just like, something I didn't mention is this episode made me want to go back and watch Return of the Jedi, which I'm planning on doing maybe tonight. But so you see Fennec Shand come in, and she's just, she wipes out all these people, and she lets the Twi'lek slave go, and then the music starts kicking in this really BA theme that they're using for Boba Fett. I'm like, this is, he comes walking down the steps, and I'm like, what in the heck is going on? And Bib Fortuna's all like, oh, Boba, blah blah blah, I thought you were dead, whatever. And Boba just blasts him in the face, and takes the throne, and just sits down, and then the last shot is so cool, dude. Boba sitting on this throne, Fennec Shand kind of like leaning on it, drinking out of that jug, and I'm like, what? And then you see the Book of Boba Fett, December 2021, and I'm like, okay, well, Quattro, that's why they didn't announce it last week, because they were, like you said, they were waiting, for this season to end for some reason, and now we know why.
Yeah, man. I'm going to ask you something. It's going to be kind of dumb. They're filming. Is there going to be separate shows, or is this Book of Boba Mandalorian season 3? Like, is it going to be the Mandalorian Book of Boba now for the next 2 seasons? Or is there going to be a Mandalorian season 3 and a Boba Fett season 1?
See, I was led to believe that this was the Boba Fett limited series that was rumored, and that we will still see season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Okay.
Because I've seen everywhere I've looked, it said that they've already started production of season 3, but is that they started production of the Book of Boba Fett? I don't know.
Right.
Because something else my brother texted me was this felt like a series finale, this episode.
Right.
Which, I mean, pardon my language, but if that's the case, I'm going to be pissed. You know? Like, what? I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, and it's kind of bothering me to think about it. I'm cool with this Boba Fett thing, but if this means like the end of, it can't mean the end of Din's story, because you got the stuff with Bo-Katan and the Darksaber and all that, the more cultural stuff of the Mandalore, and
there's other shows too that it could pick it up on.
Right.
Where Mando just makes an appearance and he becomes like the one shot, episode. So you never know.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's kind of up in the air. I mean, what's the Book of Boba Fett going to be about? If it's him and Fennec Shand, are they running a crime syndicate or a bounty hunter syndicate? Or
well, when you get involved with Jabba's in Jabba's world, that's what you're into. You're into smuggling and crime stuff. So I guess so.
Dude, it could be really good. That's all I know. All right. Well, I think Quatros, we're gonna have to call it.
Yeah.
Listeners, really quick, I think, and Quatros, you tell me if you want to do this. I think when we come back from our break, I think we should pick up with maybe recapping season 2 a little bit and getting your letter grade of this episode, and give you some time to process.
I just need a little bit of time.
So I think we'll come back with that probably the week after Christmas.
Okay.
And to close out, I'm going to try and get through this quickly because we're kind of running short on time. We received another email from our fellow Jabba the Butt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is actually pretty. I read it. This came in, I think, yesterday or the day before. But it's very different from his last one. So here we go. It says Fives and Quatros. Apparently, he's onto your new name.
That was quick.
Says Jabba the Butt here. FYI, I am Mr. the Butt. Says, hey, I'm not emailing to hate on you guys or say you missed something, even though Fours is wrong about The Mandalorian Season 3 being the last season. They announced back on November 16th that The Mandalorian is picked up for Seasons 3 and 4, which I do remember hearing something about that. I'm not trying to be a know-it-all. That's not why I'm emailing. I'm emailing to say sorry. Yeah, I know, hard to believe. You guys got me all wrong. I listened to your reaction to my previous emails. I wasn't trying to hate on you guys. I was just trying to be funny and bust your chops a bit. I guess I took it a bit too far.
Oh, all right.
He goes on to say, actually, I want to say thank you guys for giving me timely, funny, and an entertaining podcast about my favorite Star Wars live-action series. I can count on you guys being there every Saturday, ready to talk about the latest episode. I work on Saturday mornings, and there aren't too many podcasts available at that point. You guys helped me get through my work day. You made it a little bit more bearable. Whoa. I know it must take a great deal of effort to get a podcast out in a day. It does. I have to wait till Monday for some other podcasts I listen to. So it's nice to not have to wait that long for you guys. Also, it got to the point where I was looking forward to your guys' reaction to the show just as much as the latest episode. I just want to say much appreciated with the effort. That's anyway, cool. Right? Anyway, looking forward to hearing how you guys are going to fill all the space between the seasons. And don't worry, I'll be staying tuned into Frequency 1138 during this long break. You got a listener in me. Your pal, Jabba the Butt. P.S. I listened to your Last Jedi podcast. It was pretty good. You guys have some of the same reactions as I did with the movie, except for one thing. I love the Canto Bite stuff. Peace.
Ah.
Huh. Well, hey, Jabba the Butt. I appreciate your. I appreciate all your emails. This is pretty nice. It's some really good feedback, and hey, it's cool that we can be there for somebody. Saturdays to listen to our show. Much appreciated.
Thank you for emailing us and letting us know how much you're digging us, and we're digging you right back. I guess you didn't really, you don't have to do that. That's a long email. Jeez, a lot to say.
Right, but really nice stuff. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, that's a good way to end it.
Right on. So that said, Quattros.
Yeah.
We got a Christmas thing coming up, I want to say, anyone listening, if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas to you. I hope everybody finds some joy and happiness, in this crazy world that we live in, and hopefully, like myself and Quattros, hopefully Star Wars is helping everyone through it like it's doing for us. It's nice to have that to get lost in. For those of you that are listening, we check out the numbers here and there, and it's cool that you are out there listening to us, and we will try and do our best to keep you entertained. We love talking about Star Wars, so we're gonna try to bring it every week, except for this coming week, but you know what I mean. So thank all of you for listening. Jabba the Butt, maybe we'll have you on one day.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And Quattros, I'm sure I'll be talking to you before Christmas, but Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you too. Take a break. You've earned it. We've done 8 weeks in a row. You haven't missed a week, and it's a lot of work, and much appreciated. Like Jabba the Butt. So keep it up, man.
Right on. So yeah, we're looking forward to your letter grade.
Yeah, give me some time.
All right, man. May the Schwartz be with you.
And also with you for his life.
Nice. Thank you for listening to another episode of Clone Army Radio. Email us with thoughts or questions at clonearmyradio@gmail.com. Please remember to click subscribe so you don't miss the newest episodes.
Do it, Admiral Piet.